Welcome, Kiwanis in the room. Welcome, Kiwanis on Zoom, and welcome guests. My name is Michael Roanoke. It's my pleasure to be serving as president of the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke. I do have one or two quick health-related announcements to share with you about our members. I'll start with Emily Bailey. You'll recall she's had a long series of unfortunate events health-wise, and so has her mom. So she sent me an update, which I told her I would share with you today. Emily says, my mom was diagnosed with a fourth type of cancer and has started chemo. Speaking of herself, she says, I was in Cleveland Clinic last Monday and learned that this gets medical now, learned that my left vestibular system is now failing at 87%, up from 70% tested earlier this year. And now there's a bit of humor about herself. I spend much of the day feeling drunk and not the fun kind. I'm sure she'd appreciate some well wishes from any and all of us when you have a chance. On the good news front, I was out over the weekend and I happened to bump into some good friends from our past president, who you may remember was good friends with Swiftly LaRue. Who am I thinking about? Reggie Wood. I have now learned that Reggie and his wife are going to be going out to dinner out of the house for the first time in a long time. Good for them. So, Milton Hardy is on his way up. We're going to do a call for introspection, and Don Witt is following him for the pledge.
Good afternoon. Microphone is right here. Today's an informative introspection. I'm going to read something for you. Labor Day, rooted in the labor movement, is a powerful reminder of the contribution workers have made to the strength, prosperity, and well-being of society. It's a day to reflect on the importance of work and the rights of workers, celebrate the achievement that have come from collective action and advocacy. It's also a movement to consider the ongoing struggles for fair labor practices worldwide. The Kiwanis Club, a local volunteer organization, aligns well with the spirit of Labor Day. The club is dedicated to improving the lives of children and the community through service, embodying the values of hard work, dedication, and community betterment that Labor Day honors. Both Labor Day and the Kiwanis Club highlight the significance of collective effort, whether it's through advocating for workers' rights or engaging in community service to make a difference in the lives of others. Moreover, both embody a deep duty to God and country, emphasizing the service to others as a fundamental expression of these values. The commitment to serving one's community through the Kiwanis Club reflects a broader dedication to upholding the principles of faith and patriotism, which are at the heart of what Labor Day represents. The recognition that our work and service are integral to the fabric of our society and the betterment of our nation. I'm so glad to be called a Kiwanis.
Please join me in the pledge to allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you, Milton, and thank you, Don. Chris is on his way up. He's going to introduce our guests.
Thank you, President O'Brien. Butcher the name. Good afternoon. I'm Chris Rouse, a new Kiwanian and a very proud Kiwanian. Aloha. We have one guest today. I'd like to ask Chuck Brinkman, please, to stand up. Chuck is a financial planner out of Daleville. And he describes himself as a financial planner that has an addiction with real estate. So I'm proud to let you know that I'm actually his host, and that's why I'm standing also. So welcome, Chuck Brinkman.
Well done, new club member already bringing guests. So, I have a choice to make today. And that choice is, should I give you yet another president's message or do something else? And so that rousing response I got convinces me to do another president's message. As an audience, you are so easy to play. Let me just. So I'm going to draw on one of my favorite stories from history as I, wrap up this year as president. And this story takes place from 1914 to 1916. And that's when Ernest Shackleton and his men survived the wreck of their ship Endurance. They survived that in the crushing Antarctic ice. They were stranded 1,200 miles from civilization with no means of communication and no hope for rescue. One of my favorite stories. The temperatures were so low, they could hear the water freeze. They subsisted, not like we do, on fine food. They subsisted on a diet of penguins, seals, and dogs. Well, when the ice began to break up, Shackleton set out to save them all. He undertook an heroic 800-mile journey across the frigid South Atlantic in little more than a rowboat. Unlike every other polar exploration at the time, every man survived. Survived not only in good health, but in good spirits. In their journals, those men wrote different versions of, "This was the best time of our lives." Do you get this? No hope of rescue, stranded for 18 months in horrible conditions, the best time of their lives. You see, Shackleton practiced during that time what we know today as servant leadership. He actively looked for ways to serve the needs of each of the crew. He assigned them tasks. He's the leader. He supported their carrying out of the tasks. He's a servant leader. So, mucking out the dog pens was one of the tasks. I'm not going to ask for volunteers today, but I could ask you to come up and muck out the dog pens, couldn't I? Sure. If I did, you would understand clearly the goal of the task. You would accept the goal, and then you would accept the fact that I am going to support you every step of the way during your dog pen mucking. All right, what's this have to do with Kiwanis? Morale remained high during all the dog pen mucking. Every day, Shackleton would touch base with each of his men and ask them what do they need to succeed. He was practicing servant leadership. That was a win-win relationship. Well, obviously, I'm a big fan of that. I wouldn't be talking about it now if there wasn't. I look for opportunities and have looked for opportunities this past year to do just what Shackleton did. To help find you a task that needed to be done that was important and support you as you did that task. That's been a nice way for me to work together with so many of you. Thank you for allowing me to support your mucking out of dog pens. Outreach. Fortunately, according to the autobiography, we're now going to hear something interesting. Alex Barge is on his way up to talk about himself.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Am I speaking correctly? Sometimes you can you hear me? No, you can't. All right. So like this, is this better? Yeah. All right. I'm flattered to be asked to share my autobiography. I have a few experiences I'm happy to share about, but not as many as others yet. I look forward to more, of course. I'm a bit of a mutt in that my mom is from Madison, Wisconsin, and my dad is from Memphis, Tennessee. And they met in New Orleans, Louisiana. And they settled in a suburb of Slidell, Louisiana, which is where I grew up. On what I am sure was a hot and steamy day in the summer of 1979, I joined this world. I had a typical childhood of baseball, friends, church, marching band, and Mardi Gras and shrimp po' boys and whatnot. While New Orleans is certainly one of the most unique cities in the world, it's absolutely worth visiting sometime, just not in the summer. I am an only child, so I learned early on how to make friends and often found myself in trouble with teachers for talking with my classmates. I even remember the teachers trying to sit me next to the shy kids, yet I still talked. So, Kiwanis is a good place for me. When thinking about college, my dad told me LSU was the best state school in Louisiana, and that's where I was going to college, so I did. I was good at math, though not really interested in school. I was active in the Wesley Foundation, in my fraternity, Phi Kappa Psi. I graduated from LSU, go Tigers, and all things go Tigers, yes. I graduated with a degree in accounting, specifically internal auditing, which I did enjoy at one point. Though I wasn't thrilled to get started with my career, so I spent several weeks throughout high school and college on mission trips serving people with disabilities. I decided to spend what I thought was my last free summer working at a Camp Easter Seals, Tennessee, which served kids and adults with disabilities and was located outside Nashville. Somehow, camp was able to find its way into my bloodstream in a way that accounting didn't. It made me question what I wanted to do, and so to help figure that out, I meandered a bit. I did AmeriCorps at NCCC, which was a program loosely based off of the CCC boys from the 30s. I worked in a few other camps. I worked in a group home with a guy with autism. I worked in a middle school with a kid with autism. Spent some time in Charleston, South Carolina, Miami, Jackson, Mississippi, Chicago, Chattanooga, Iowa, Missouri, all while returning each summer to Camp Easter Seals in Tennessee, which is where I met my first wife. Eventually, I went back to school and earned a master's in health and human performance and had a new goal of becoming a camp director. 2 days after graduating, I moved from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, from MTSU to the Roanoke area to serve as an assistant camp director with Camp Easter Seals out of Craig County. A year and a half later, I became camp director, and I worked there for over 14 years, serving thousands of campers. It was truly more than a job, as essentially lived with people 24/7 for 3 months a year. My fellow staff came from all around the world, all around the country to serve folks who came from all over Virginia and North Carolina with various disabilities, all in the beautiful setting of Craig County. I did face several challenges during this time. One was getting divorced, which is a challenge that I would not wish on anyone. The other, when I was just 23, I began a battle with androgenetic alopecia, or male pattern baldness. When I was 26, I gave up this battle and started shaving what little hair I had left. Though I believe having less hair means I'm a cooler person. After spending 20 summers and 14 years working full-time at camps for people with disabilities, I decided to get a regular job. My late mother had a brain injury and was a client of Brain Injury Solutions, so I was well aware of who Brain Injury Solutions was and who they served. And I jumped at the opportunity to become part of their team when I saw an opening for development and marketing. While I don't get to spend 3 months a year working outside in beautiful Craig County, I'm still able to work toward a goal of improving the lives of people with disabilities, specifically survivors of brain injury. People like my mom. Hopefully, sometime I will get a chance to discuss brain injury solutions further with you all, if you all ever need a fill-in. Because of the job switch, I now have more time to spend doing other things like joining Kiwanis, the best civic organization in the Roanoke Valley, right? Yes. Also had the opportunity to join a few other organizations. Most importantly, I get to spend a bit more time with my family. It's hard to believe that I now have a 14-year-old son who fortunately still enjoys playing catch with me and is active in the PH marching band. So if you go to any PH football games, root for the Trumpets. Go Trumpets. I have an 11-year-old daughter who beats me at rummy and corporal regularly and loves dancing, all the dances. Yeah. 3 years ago, I remarried a wonderful woman, Robin, who is a minister with the Methodist Church. She also came along with 2 girls, a 16-year-old daughter who enjoys playing Dungeons and Dragons, and a 14-year-old daughter who plays JV volleyball at PH and enjoys theater. It's been a wonderful ride of a life so far, and I feel blessed to keep it going. Thank you.
Fascinating, Alex. Thank you. I'm going to suggest that if you find the time, you submit that to the editor for the newsletter. Jean's on her way up.
And we just thought Alex excelled with the written word. What a great autobiography. All right, so first up, I'm going to announce our September birthdays, and fair warning, it is a long list. And I will tell you what Reeve will tell you, which is, since there are a lot of you, don't forget about our tradition of making birthday checks to the foundation. Just think, if this whole list of people made a $25 donation to the foundation for their birthday, we'd be in good shape. All right, we're gonna start out with September 3rd, Vern Danielson. Oh, also, if you're here today and I call your name, please stand and we'll make sure we recognize you. September 3rd, Vern Danielson. September 4th is Betsy Bohannon and Joe Bradney. September 5th is Sam Lineberger III. September 7th, Jackie Bledsoe. September 9th, Lee Learman. September 11th, Calvin Witt. September 13th, Neil Kinsey and Jesse Kaufman. September 14th, Eric Danielson. September 16th, Ken Briggs, Leanne Wright, and Glenn Pierce. September 21st, John Ewart.
He's here.
September 23rd, Mike Loveman and Mike Adams. And September 24th, Dave Spangler. Ken, are you calling off all birthdays now? Is that why you didn't want to stand?
You don't want to write a check.
All right. Let's sing a song for all of them, shall we? Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Thanks, everyone. Next up, I'm going to report on our Capital District Convention. So just to give a little background for those of you who are new to the club or a little bit unfamiliar, our club is one of more than four, our club is one in the Capital District, and the Capital District includes Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. There are over 4,000 members in the Capital District. And every year our district has a convention and it moves around throughout those states. We hosted it multiple times in Roanoke and we'll be hosting it again in a couple of years. This year it was in Portsmouth, Virginia. A little bit over 200 folks from around the district went down to Portsmouth over the weekend to learn a few things and some workshops, to vote on some things. We had our changeover of our Capital District officers, and also just to have a fun time. We started out on Friday evening with a great baseball game at Harbor Park, which actually turned out to be quite an exciting game. It went into 10 innings. And we had dinner there as well. And then on Saturday, we had several workshops. Our own John Montgomery and the Hartmans presented workshops for us. And then others who attended were Don Witt and Hi Nicely, and they represented the foundation very well. I attended as well with my husband, and Joyce attended as well. And then on Sunday, we capped everything off with an inspirational breakfast. There were some service projects as well. A couple of additional highlights are that we raised collectively $15,000 for the Capital Foundation through the Ducky Derby, which is very exciting. And the Roanoke Club was number 3rd in raising funds, so that was great, a great showing for us as well. We had 2 winners in the Ducky Derby. Betsy Bohannon won a gift certificate to Nordstrom. And Jeff Fig, is Jeff here today? No, Jeff is not here today. Jeff wants some gift cards for some different meals from different restaurants. So that was fun. I won something in the raffle, the Caring Corner raffle, and it was quite large, a trunk and a quilt and some pillows and some other things. Took a lot to carry it. Anything I'm missing, John?
Great summary.
Okay. All right. Next up, John Montgomery.
In case you're wondering, I did not win anything at the raffle or at the Ducky Derby, and I think an auditor's in order. I'm going to contribute $2 for a brag here, but I got to say in response to Alex's wonderful autobiography that I jotted down that he's lived in, among other places, Charleston, New Orleans, and Chicago, which all made a list of the most beautiful cities in America, according to a random poll. But you see where Alex is settled, which tells you a little bit about our community. I'm actually up here to talk about our proposed dues increase, not the most fun thing to talk about, but something your officers and your board feel is necessary. And I'm going to play it straight to the head and say that the proposed club's dues structure will go into effect October 1st with your blessing, provided it has your blessing. At our board meeting in August, President Mike reviewed the current membership dues structure, and then the proposed structure developed by the officers, and it was endorsed by the board. It is in the newsletter with specifics. Roughly, we're talking about an 8% increase, depending on the level that you currently belong, whether it is as a young professional, or whether it's you're as a spouse, or whether you're as a tenured member, or whether you're Zoom plus. Zoom members paid for meals when they attend, or if you're on the full membership. Those dues run quite a gamut, and you know the rate that you're on. But we're talking about approximately an average of 8% increase. The rate structure was approved by the board, but it's dependent on the membership's approval. And so by our bylaws, that requires a vote of the club. We're giving you a couple weeks notice. The vote will occur in September, either at the 11th or 18th meeting, whatever President Mike deems appropriate. And hopefully with your blessing, it'll go into effect October 1. Remember now that we're on a situation where you pay for your meals after the quarter, you won't see it in your next invoice until the quarter concludes. So it'll be sometime after the first of the year before it shows up. But we're paying this to Kiwanis International effective with the invoice in October. So that's the primary reason we're doing it. Kiwanis International has increased their dues, and we need to correspond appropriately. There also will be a couple dollar increase in meals, which will go into effect effective October 1st. These are addressed in the newsletter. I'm happy to talk to you individually online or at the meeting. Appreciate your support in passing this motion when it goes into effect. Thank you.
What's with the buzzing?
It's this,
Your last week.
what is that?
A microphone.
To the Zoom.
That's the buzzing. Put it on your lapel. So I thank you.
Hey, Elliot.
So I solved the problem. I have an engineering degree after all. So announcement time, I'll go through these as quickly as I can, because I know there are braggarts in the room and they want to get up here and have the microphone, which now works better since I fixed it. So last week's highlights, the one I want to share with you is about the Bridge Builders event. I understand that a number of Kiwanis went and enjoyed that event. There are people from outside the club that enjoyed that event. It was a music-centered event. There was a lot of singing, including from a couple of members sitting here in this room. And I understand in addition to music, there was also $1,000 of funds raised, which is going directly to Ram House. Let's applaud that success. You know, our own Milton Hardy has been chairing the board for Ram House for the past almost 3 years. So we appreciate what he's been doing for our community. Thank you. Tonight at the South County Library, there's a book club meeting, and late breaking news is at 6 p.m. tonight at the South County Library. David Hartman, thank you for running that for us. Next week, as we learned from Milton Hardy, it's a holiday week, Labor Day. We will not meet next week, but the officers will. So officers, stay tuned. 2 weeks from today, the presidential advisors will meet. You recall that's a group I formed to advise me as president. And I've told you that they are so excited about giving advice to presidents. That group's going to stay together indefinitely. So good for them. Nice to see them collectively doing good for the club, in addition to the individual things they do. Bert Boyd is here. Bert Boyd has been working seriously behind the scenes to get all the last minute details arranged for the heat resilience event on September 14th. That's an opportunity for our club to get our name out in the environment space, important opportunity. Danville, you know, Danville, right? Danville, they're once again hosting an interclub event, right? It's a pretty good deal. There's information in the newsletter. $20 to play around the golf.
That doesn't count.
Oh, no, excuse me. No. Lots of money to pay around the golf, but only $20 for dinner. $20 for dinner. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Still a good deal.
It's still a good deal in spite of how I pitched it. So, Jean is coming back up here now. She's going to pitch a few important things, and then we'll proceed into brag bucks. Thanks.
Okay, this next announcement is very important. It's for JC specifically. The installation is September 25th, which is a Wednesday, and it's in the evening, and it's in this room. We're not having a lunch meeting that day. We're having an evening meeting. We're gonna have a meal, we're gonna have some music, and we're gonna install new officers and have some fun. You are all invited. John will let us know how much the tickets are going to be in the next newsletter. And committee sign-ups.
Excuse me, Gina, because your dues would apply, but this will be a little bit extra.
It'll be a little bit extra, and you can also be billed for it, but you'll pay full price for your guests. Okay. And committee signups for next year. We really need all hands on deck for the next year to help out in various ways. The committee list went out a few weeks ago. You are welcome to call me, text me, email me, tell me today what committees you'd like to serve on. If you're still going to chair a committee, we'd love to have you pick at least 2. Thank you so much.
Well done. Well done. That committee sign up thing, right? It's important, isn't it? So please do close the loop. Those of you that are sponsors of new members, you have a responsibility here to help with the committee sign-ups, right? Whoever you sponsored probably would benefit from your guidance. I happen to have sponsored 2 new members this year. I've got 2 separate meetings with them to help them decide what to do or not to do in this club. encourage all of you to take Gene seriously on that. So without me even needing to mention it, there is a line for me to give brag bucks. Come on up now.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, I don't have any problem bragging. I've
Speak
got
loud.
$5 brag.
$5.
I'm gonna play off of our earlier report from convention. It was a good week. It seemed like it was longer than that while we were there, but it was a good week. For Kiwanians, not only in the capital district, but also internationally. But I'm most proud of several things. Now, I want to report from my perspective. One is, not only did we raise $15,000 for Ducky Derby, we raised another $1,000 from the Carrying Corner. This past year, the Capital District Foundation, in last 2 years, I'm sorry, increased its corpus by 50%. We went from $1 million to $1.5 million. Because of that, we generally, for the last 3 years, have provided $3,000 to each of the 11 hospitals we support in our footprint. We increased that by $1,000. So this year they'll get $4,000 instead of $3,000. And it's all because of you. It's nothing we did as a foundation because we couldn't do anything without your support. The last part is a people issue. Several years ago, I'm not forgetting how many, but it was just a couple of years ago, so my memory's short. I needed a lieutenant governor. So I went to Don Witt, and he agreed to do it. And I appreciated it very much, and he did a great job. This past year, I asked him to come on to the foundation, and he did. And he took care of sustained giving, and he did a good job. I'm proud to announce that he's been elected as the president-elect to our foundation, and he will follow a gentleman who's replacing me October the 1st from that, how does he say it? West by God, Virginia. A gentleman by the name of Dave Florava. He is just a whiz bang. He's the commissioner of soccer for grade school through high school in West Virginia. And I kidded him one day and I said, how many players is that too? And hey, he is a great guy and he'll do a great job and he'll be followed by a great job. And the second part is our lieutenant governor, who is moving on to be the Southwest Virginia trustee. I encouraged her to be lieutenant governor, and she is finishing her second term and going into the Southwest Virginia trustee position. Has done a wonderful job. So my two choices, I've got a pretty good judgment, and they have done a great job, and I appreciate you.
Well, I won't pretend that's not a hard act to follow. If you have the calendars, next Saturday, September 7th, 2:30 in the afternoon at South Roanoke United Methodist Church, there's going to be an amazing program. Some of the coolest musicians in New York, which is saying something, are coming down here to play this amazing program. The first half of the program includes me. So if you want to come to the second half, I understand. I said you get to hear me a lot. The second half is all jazz, all new, amazing players. So I very much hope you can come. Best of all, it's free.
I just want to give a quick shout out, Dr. David Points and his team at WJFX AM 910 helped me put together my first radio ads ever. So after 4 years of being in business, I'm finally advertising And it's all to the help and support of Dr. Points, so I wanted to give him a shout out. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bruce Swanson. I've been gone for weeks. And thank you. Glad to be back. I was in Canada on a wonderful 2-week vacation. And it included bus rides. We started in Calgary, we went on to Banff, we ended up in British Columbia, Vancouver, had a great time. And one of our fellow companion travelers is a gentleman, I won't name him, but he's from upstate New York, and he's a lifelong Kiwanian. And we chatted several times about their club and what they do and what we do. And he said, well, I just had a communication from my club treasurer reminding me that I haven't paid my dues. And I said, that's not what John Montgomery would do when I was on vacation.
Thank you, Bragg. Stephanie's on her way up to introduce our speaker.
Well, needless to say, most things come down to the end. And this is my final one for you all for the month of August. And I have to truly say it's been a privilege to be able to introduce the speakers for the month. And the ones that I went to talk to, actually, I talked to about 8, and I had to pick 4, and all 4 said yes. So I am proud to announce the one for this Wednesday, and to thank the Kiwanis board for the opportunity to be able to be the one of this introductory speakers to announce the presenters for the month. Now, will I do it again? I don't know. But I've enjoyed this one at least. So it is my pleasure to introduce Don Samuel, the visionary founder of the Least of These Ministries, ministry, as also known as TLOT, TLOT. This impactful nonprofit organization is dedicated to making a real difference in the lives of those experiencing homelessness in the Roanoke Valley. TLOT's mission is to provide spiritual, physical, and emotional support to individuals who are homeless, all in the name of Jesus Christ. Operating as a gap ministry, TLOT focuses on addressing needs that other local services will not cover. Their commitment to continuous improvement ensures they are always evolving to better serve our unsheltered friends. These services offered by TLOT are diverse and essential. They include a facility with showers, laundry, lunch, and a needs pantry, a woman bus for the winter months, mobile outreach to meet immediate needs on the streets, and support in finding permanent housing. Recently, TLOT has expanded its efforts with the launch of a 19-unit motel designed to help those who are either receiving disability income or are part of the working poor. Dawn's dedication and leadership have truly made a profound impact, and we are honored to hear more about her work and the mission of the Least of These ministry today. Please join me in welcoming Dawn Sandoval.
Thank you. I think Stephanie basically said I can go home now. I brought a slideshow with me, but the computer's not being my friend, so they seldom are. I'll do the best with what we have. But as Stephanie mentioned, I'm the founder of the Least of These ministry. And our ministry focuses on people that are homeless, but more specifically, unsheltered people that generally do not utilize our local homeless shelter. Our mission statement is that we serve those that are experiencing homelessness In the name of Jesus, might be. So, I wanted to show you a photo of some of the places in our valley where people are residing. I'm really sorry. I shouldn't, but I'm not sure what's going on. There. Let me see. I apologize. So these photos were actually taken in the Roanoke Valley. These are places that people are calling home. They're tents, they're in doorways. The bottom photo on the left, if you can tell, there's a line there of folks, and those folks are waiting to get on our warming bus that we operate. In the winter time when temperatures drop below 40 degrees. I'll tell you a little bit about that momentarily. So I wanted to share a little bit about my journey in this ministry. I lived in Salem, Virginia, and I worked at Mount Regis Center, Substance Abuse Center. And I started working in a ministry, an outreach ministry that mostly worked in the housing projects with the children, just kind of serving them on Saturday mornings. And during that time, I found out that kids aren't really my calling. Marginalized adults are more where I feel my calling. And so I started going and talking with homeless people, learning their barriers, learning their stories. Then I would go home and get on Facebook and ask all my friends from church to bring me their old coats and hats and gloves and things of that nature. And I would go out with my dogs, usually on foot, and distribute those things and just learn people's stories. And then I felt God calling us to move among the people that we served. And so my husband, who is a robotics programmer, was away in Puerto Rico, and I thought that'd be the perfect time to find a place to move while he was away. I didn't move before he got back, so I guess I'm a decent wife, but I did pick him up from the airport and I said, hey, I really feel like God's calling us to move among the people we serve, and I found this house on Gilmer Avenue. Would you come and look at it with me? So he came and he looked at it and we moved. So we lived on Gilmer Avenue for 3.5 years until we had the opportunity to buy a home in Old Southwest to continue to live among the people that we served. We didn't want to be people that just served and then went back to our neck of the woods and lived a different life. So as you can see in this slide, this is the back of my husband's truck, and we weren't able to see out of the rearview mirror for a long time because we just used our personal car to take things out on the streets. And so then in 2018, I randomly made the comment, it would be really cool if we had an ambulance, never thinking that we would ever have an ambulance to serve from. But there she is in all her glory. This is Mercy Grace, and she actually responded to the Virginia Tech shootings. And they decommissioned her a short time later. And our ministry had the opportunity to purchase her. And she is our mobile outreach vehicle. So she is retrofitted with most of the things that we would need at the street level: clothing, food, sleeping bags, blankets, first aid products, hygiene products, underwear, anything that they need to keep them warm during the winter. And we take her out to campsites, to abandoned porches, to parks. And we serve those people that are experiencing homelessness that do not use the shelter. And then in 2020, the Lord continued to call me to quit my job. And I was like, clearly, I'm not understanding what you're saying. I worked all my life. I'm in my 50s. I'm good. But he continued to call. So in February of 2020, I resigned from Aetna Medicaid. I was a business ops analyst at Aetna, and I worked from home. I had it made, and I was working, doing the ministry as well. And so I resigned from my job, and I said, okay, now I'm going to go out and build relationships with churches and civic organizations. And the Lord's like, you're not going to be doing any of that. because we're getting ready to have a pandemic. And that truck you have, you're gonna be serving lunch from that 7 days a week for the next 6 months. So that's what we did. We made sandwiches and put together chips and bagged lunches starting in March. And we served on the street 7 days a week from Mercy Grace. And we served lunch to those people that did not have any options because the mission was closed, the Ram House was closed, Samaritan Inn was closed. There were nowhere that they could get food. There wasn't even a place they could use the bathroom. So city council fortunately was willing to put a couple of porta johns out after we went to them and said, you know, we need somewhere for them to use the bathroom and wash their hands. Then a couple of months after COVID began in May, we partnered with the BGAV Disaster Relief. We brought a 4-shower trailer to the church that I attended at the time, Belmont Baptist, and we allowed unsheltered individuals 3 days a week to come and take showers in the disaster relief trailer. We would walk them over to the laundromat on 13th Street and do their laundry. So again, the Lord sometimes wishes I would just be quiet because I say things and he's just shaking his head like that's not our way. I said we would never have a brick and mortar building, but here we are, killing it with a brick and mortar building. I went to look at this building at 422 Love, thinking that we would just use it for storage because we had 9 storage units at Lawson Self-Storage where we would keep the inventory for Mercy Grace. And we also help people get into permanent housing. So we take furniture donations and when they move into their apartments, we give them the bare minimum, you know, a couch, a bed, plates, cups, silverware, things of that nature. But when I went in and looked at the building, I said, but there's so much more we could do here. So we opened that building in April of 2021, April 1st of 2021. And it is equipped with showers, laundry, a needs pantry, an area where guests can wait, a garage bay for Mercy Grace, an area for washers and dryers for our laundry services. So what you're seeing here is the waiting area where our guests wait. Unfortunately, the population for unsheltered people has increased exponentially. And last Friday, we served 100 unsheltered people in 4 hours. We're only open 12:30 to 4:30. This building operates Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12:30 to 4:30. We operate portable showers because we don't own the building, we rent it. So we could come in and just plumb in a ton of showers. However, we started with 1 shower in April of 2021. We're up to 3 showers and we're preparing to add 2 more. So we'll be operating 5 showers to just get to everyone that needs a shower on the days we're open. This was our beginner laundry room. We started with 1 washer and 1 dryer. We're now operating 3 washers and 7 dryers, and we're getting ready to add another washer and another dryer to meet the demand of the people that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. This is our needs pantry. So during the week when we're open, our unsheltered friends can come in. We give them an index card. They make a list of the things that they need. If they need underwear, socks, shoes, bug spray, sunscreen, you name it, we carry it. And so we give out those items to the unsheltered individuals so that they have the bare necessities to get them by until their circumstances change. That's really what our focus is. It's just keeping people alive till their circumstances change. We don't have a kitchen in our building, unfortunately. So we have a makeshift area that we use to make sandwiches and put together chips and things like that for lunch during the day. And we also have several refrigerators and freezers. We have a Loving Lunches program that people can come together as groups, families, Bible studies, churches, and prepare meals for our unsheltered friends, and they drop them off around 11:30, and we prepare it to be served beginning at 12:30. So we're either making sandwiches here or preparing lunch for the day. in the space. So one of the struggles for homeless individuals is keeping up with their belongings. They can't keep up with their IDs, their medications, their bedding, so that they have something to cover up with it at night, especially as the temperatures drop. So we installed 38 lockers on the outside of our building. We have the unsheltered individuals sign a locker covenant so they know what the rules are. We provide them with a lock. We set the combination up so they have the combination, but we have it as well. So if they break the rules or become housed, we just recycle that locker for the next unsheltered person that can utilize that. Those lockers have been full for a long time, and we are operating on a waiting list for people to utilize lockers. Then we have a warming bus. This is Hope Haven. She has been our warming bus for the last 3 years. We park the warming bus on our property starting around November 1st. And we have a staff member that stays on the bus, and any night that the temperature drops below 40, our unsheltered friends can board the bus, and they have heat and lights. Last year, a missions team came and wired our bus up like an RV so that we could just plug it in. The 2 years previous, we were using diesel fuel, and we ran it, idled it all night, and warmed it and had lights on it. That was a blessing up until the end of this winter season. And Hope Haven is a 1997. She broke down and is not fixable. So right now, our pursuit is to find another bus that we can utilize in time for the winter season. We did have her towed off. Worst case scenario, we could have her towed back to our lot and utilize her this winter if that's the best we can do. But we're hoping that we'll be able to find another bus that we can use. This is just our year in review from last year. Last year we served 6,744 meals for the year. This year we're already at 5,653 meals already. And this is just through August 23rd. So we will well surpass that number, if not come close to doubling it by the end of the year. Last year we did 3,249 showers. We've already done 2,500 this year. So we're seeing a very large increase in the demands on the needs that we're providing. We were talking about permanently housing people with the furnishings and things like that. So our ministry has created relationships with approximately 5 property managers and owners that use us as the lens in which they see those that we're putting in permanent housing. And so we're able to access apartments and have units available for people that are experiencing homelessness. And we try to hang on to anything that's affordable, because I don't know if you've looked at the rental market lately, but it's been very outrageous as it relates to cost. So a lot of people that are on fixed incomes or the working poor, they can't afford to live in an apartment. So the people you see here are people that we housed in 2023. 3 of these people are veterans. The bottom female, she was a pregnant veteran. She was living in her car while pregnant. We got her housed. She had her baby. She did extremely well, and she moved to another apartment. But this is just 6 of the people that we housed last year, and all of them continue to be housed. None of them have returned to homelessness. Then, as if our plate wasn't full enough, we rented an entire motel and renovated it and launched it on February the 15th of 2024. The old Apple Valley Motel, which is across from the Clearbrook Walmart, in Roanoke County, has sat vacant for about 7 years. And it went up for rent, and we were able to secure a 3-year lease on this motel. Our prayer is that we will own it, but we will have to see what that looks like in the future. So this is what the motel looks like today. And we went in, we did new flooring, all new furnishings. And our rates are set at a level where people that are on disability or retirement or the working poor can afford to rent from us either weekly or monthly and be able to live in addition to having shelter. These are just some photos. The motel was built in 1959. The bathrooms are still very retro, but we did try to give it a facelift. But this is just what the rooms look like now. Sorry about that. So the motel is meant to be, in the meantime, shelter. That's been one of the things that I have been focused on for years. I have continued to be in meetings with the city about a possible pilot of a tiny house model, and I'm praying that eventually that'll come to fruition. But this was an opportunity to get something quickly and refresh it and get people into permanent house or transitional housing. So our single rooms are about $150 a week, or they can pay rent for a month for $450. The double rooms, which don't necessarily always come with 2 beds, but we can put 2 beds if there's a family needing the space, they're $200 a week or $550 a month. You would be surprised how many families, single parents with children, husbands and wives and children that we have living at this motel that were experiencing being unsheltered prior to being able to secure a room here. This computer is not being my friend today. So far, we just launched in February. We've assisted a total number of guests. Now, this is only a 19-unit motel. So we've assisted 40 guests so far. 4 have been veterans, 10 are families with children, and 6 are senior citizens. We've had several people who were living on their retirement. And one lady specifically, we just permanently housed her last week. She retired from ADP after 32 years of service. She worked a second job at the DAV store in Salem. The DAV store, as you may know, closed down. She lost her supplemental income, lost her apartment that she had been living in for 7 years, and was 68 years old living in her SUV. And so she moved into the motel. I helped her find permanent housing, and we moved her into her apartment last Friday. And that's really what the goal of the motel is to kind of be an in the meantime place that people can stop until we get them to permanent housing. Okay. Here are some volunteer opportunities, but you can talk to me after the event. And if you're interested in any of those, and then I have my contact information.
Thank you for that. I'll just reinforce that you're able to come up afterwards and have a conversation. I think it'd be a productive use of your time. We have a speaker honorarium. Thank you for talking to us today. This honorarium goes to the least of these. We're going to face the camera now for our newsletter photo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a comment, if there's any doubt in anyone's mind what the force of will of an individual can do, see previous presentation. Absolutely remarkable accomplishment. Thank you for doing that for our community. Stephanie, thank you for this week's speaker and the month. Reminder, we do not meet next week. We will be meeting the week after, and just as a teaser, in September, one of our programs is going to be entirely focused on the history of this Kiwanis club. Won't that be interesting? Thank you very much. Have a nice holiday.
I agree.